Welcome to Madame Raven's. This way to the library. She's been expecting you.
Hello, darlings. Madame Raven here. I am still dealing with a topsy-turvy life. So tonight, my dear friend Spirit Voices is helping me out. I know it's not the bedtime story you expected, but I'm getting there. I have not yet missed a video, even if I'm not in it. I do hope you enjoy. I will read the second story tonight, but before we settle in for our stories, my dears, I would like you, when we are done, to take a few moments and go visit a couple of friends of mine in the neighborhood. There's a new baron that's moved into a chateau just nearby, and he sounds wonderful. He reminds me a bit of Crispin Freeman, if you know who that is. Go give him a visit, and on your way home down through the town, if you find yourself thirsty, you must stop at the pub The Hanged Man. The proprietor there always has good stories to tell. Very atmospheric. Now I bring you Spirit Voices reading Cassandra by Chris Kester.
Falling down, falling down, falling down.
The incessant sound of my toddler came from the back seat as we made our way to the park. Cassie, keep it down back there. I can hardly hear myself think. My daughter Cassandra was really finding her voice lately and was no stranger to repeating random things loudly and as much as possible. Anyone familiar with the terrible twos and the years directly following will understand that struggle. It was hard to find peace at times, but my wife and I did our best and always made things work. Our date nights are few and far between, but when we do finally get around to them, they're always just what the doc ordered. It's been a while since our last one, and I was starting to think it was time to call up Cassie's grandpa before long for another. It was my wife's night to go see her friends, and I was on babysitting duty. Nothing better than a trip to the park to wear out the kid with all that pent-up energy. This way, she would run rampant for 30 minutes to an hour and be worn out by the time we were driving home. That, of course, leads to her falling asleep in the car seat and an easy transfer to the bed once we arrive. As you can tell, I've kinda got this thing down to a science. Cassie was very particular in which park she liked to play at. Strange, I know. Her favorite was the one downtown with the stone chairs that you could talk to each other in from really far away. Something to do with the concave shape of them and how they're positioned to bounce the sound around. There was plenty else to do there as well, but that part was always her favorite. We made it to the bridge heading into town, and Cassie started to really wig out. She kept calling out,
Dad! Daddy, help!
I was afraid that something was terribly wrong with her, so I pulled over just after the bridge into a nearby parking lot in front of a pizzeria. I unbuckled her as quickly as I could and pulled her to the front seat with me to examine her. What's wrong, sweetie? Tell Daddy what's wrong. Everything appeared to be fine with her, besides the fact that she wouldn't stop crying. I just held on to her and let her cry it out. Kids can get like that sometimes. But I was just glad to find out that she wasn't hurt. It's gonna be alright, Cassie. We're gonna go to the park, and we can even stop to get some ice cream on the way back if you want. I wasn't against a little bribing if it meant I could get some peace and quiet. Not the best parenting technique, but sometimes it was necessary for your sanity. That is when I heard it. A sound that would change my life as well as the lives of so many others. a loud rumbling, accompanied by the sounds of piercing screams. I turned toward the noise and saw the bridge crumbling, covered from front to back in rush hour traffic. There were a couple of people who had been walking that scrambled in a mad dash, but were not able to make it to safety. Some of the drivers had thrown their doors open in hopes of the same, but it all happened far too fast. Not one person from one end to the other was able to make it off of the bridge before the total collapse. It was a day that nobody in this city would ever forget, and all that kept running through my head were the words of my daughter as she sat in the car seat on our way to cross the bridge.
Falling down, falling down, falling down.
Cassie was no stranger to occurrences such as this one. When she was too young to speak a word, she was already prone to these types of incidents. While at first glance, they might only seem a bit weird, looking back now, I fear that they were premonitions which we were unable to understand. Her grandmother and my mother passed away due to a heart attack. The doctor said that if she had gotten to a hospital, it was more likely than not that she would have been able to pull through. The one thing that always stuck out to me about that day as far as Cassie was concerned, she had taken every block, every puzzle piece, and every toy that was shaped like a heart and placed it in the center of the room. If that wasn't strange enough, she had placed every one of them on top of her favorite pictures of her and her Nana from one of their many zoo trips that they had taken together. Much like this time with the bridge, Cassie had been completely inconsolable, although neither me nor my wife had the slightest clue what was wrong at the time. Another time that stands out was when we had brought Cassie to see the newest princess movie at the movie theaters. She had known very few words at this point, but she could manage to speak a select few from time to time. We had to leave early from the movie. Babies do not tend to do well with that long of a period without crying or being noisy in some type of fashion. When we walked past the last theater on our way out, though, Cassie began to say,
Fire! Fire, Daddy! Mommy, fire!
It was winter time, and we had been making fires at home every night, so we assured her that when we arrived at home, we would be sure to make a fire for her in the fireplace. Once we arrived, I threw a few logs on and worked my magic with the kindling, newspaper, and some heavy blowing, before grabbing the remote to turn on the nightly news. To the surprise of my wife and I, the theater we had just been at was on the news, and the flames were crackling as a black cloud of smoke rose from the side of the building. Apparently, the theater that we had been walking by when Cassie began to go on about the fire had sparked into flames during the showing that was going on just moments after. I could go on and on about the different things like this that seemed just a bit too strange to be a coincidence. I really don't have the stomach for it now, though. You see, I have been pacing the bedroom with my stomach in knots for the past hour, trying to figure out what this could mean or what I should do. It was only yesterday now that the tragic events happened with the bridge. As heartbreaking and earth-shattering as that was for me to witness, it was something that my sweet daughter Cassandra said to me today that has me in such a frenzy. She looked at me and said,
Please watch out for the scary man, Daddy.
I don't think I will be able to sleep a wink tonight. God, help me. I may never be able to sleep again.
Contracts. Bye. Oi, Fatbeard! I was tapping away at the computer when the smell hit. Something I hadn't been exposed to in a few decades now, but instantly recognizable. Sour, corrupt meat with a sweet undertone. And jasmine of all things. Bastard knew I liked that smell from my mother's old garden growing up. Now, mate, no need for names, I grunted gutturally. A few more keystrokes. Done. Turning, I took my visitor's appearance with a weary eye. Most folk would think, all red skin, horns, cloven feet, crap like that, when you talk about the devil. Nah, he was a lot more subtle than that. He knew what folks wanted to see, or fear, depending on his whim. With me, he appeared as my Year 10 science teacher, Mr. Wright. Short of stature, yet staunch of width, with a salt and pepper beard in steep contrast to his shiny bald head. Hand-woven cotton vest, dorky tie, chinos, you get the idea. Cocking his head to the side, he glanced at the screen I was transfixed by moments before. What you working on today, Jeff? The Gutenberg discontinuity. Ah, wacko. Never one for geology myself. I mean, where I'm from and all that. A cigarette, already lit, appeared in his hands as he sat cross-legged on the floor looking up at me. Taking a drag and staring off into the distance, he seemed to forget I was there for a moment. Then the shards of black flint stared up at me over the antique silver glasses Mr. Wright used to adore. So, I know we've talked about this Vita treatment in the past. We have. And now it's put a hamper on my end of things. Making folk immortal and all? He waved his hand dismissively to cut me off. Don't worry, I'm not here to rehash old arguments. Untangling his legs to stand upright with a faux groan, he plopped his cigarette into his mouth nonchalantly, wandering to the curtains covering my office in shadows, flinging them open, revealing the rising sun, closing his eyes, enjoying the rays of light. Well, since I felt that, he spat the cigarette out, starting a manic golf clap as he turned to me. And props where props are due. You've got one over on old Nick. Been a while, but it does happen. Join me outside for a sec? Without checking to see if I followed, he was suddenly on the other side of the window. So I threw on my dressing gown and made my way outside. The usual way. Recoiled at the sudden heat and light. Going to be a warm one. Couldn't help but smirk slightly when I see him kicking back on the edge of the pool, feet dangling in with a nondescript cocktail in one hand. Naturally, another cigarette was dangling from his mouth. What was a surprise, though, he had company. Balding as well, in a severe black suit. Skin was corpse white and adhered to his almost skeletal frame. The suit was showing some papers to him, who was nodding along. He noticed me joining them and waved me over, sloshing his drink into the pool slightly. There he is, right-o. This is your contract, right? I gingerly took it, even though I knew it was. The thing was etched into my mind. I nodded. Speak up, old son. Me mate here's getting on and needs to hear it. Read the big print for me. I cleared my throat. I do declare with my blood in this contract that my soul is forfeit to his unholiness upon the terms agreed to above. The suit nods, makes a hand motion to him. You can verify this is your X on the mark there, Jeff. I can, and I do. He clapped excitedly, like a kid taken to Disneyland. The suit passed another contract to him. Who signed it? Both stand up and embrace like long-lost brothers. The suit portrayed a formal bow towards me, turning on the spot and walking away, fading like morning mist in the steadily increasing sunlight. Something was wrong here, besides that obvious part. Was that your lawyer or something? He sniggered. Or something. Nah, Jeff. That was Death. The Death. Just released him from his duties. You fired Death? Yep. Not like the bloke has any more work, thanks to you. Fancy a drink? Show's about to start. What show? You'll see. Also, an offer for you here. New contract. I skimmed it, heart racing, thinking this was it. I was being taken by him whether I wanted to or not. Unceremoniously, he plopped some sunglasses on my face with a chuckle. Nah, mate, nothing like that. It's an employment contract. A what now? As the words left my mouth, an immense strobing started. I thought it was a sudden lightning storm, but it was too uniform, almost targeted. Forks of jagged light were zipping to the surface in a sweeping motion, heading steadily towards us like a neon curtain. You know the stats on how many folk are around on this planet now, Jeff? Just north of 9 billion. 50 bloody years since the Vita discovery, and you've managed to bump over 2 million folks onto this speck of dirt. You've got about 30 seconds on that contract, by the way. North. The sun was rising in the north? He waggled his drink at me, making a tick-tock notion with his mouth. So it's your choice, old son. Don't sign, stay put, get tortured for all eternity. Your soul is mine, after all. We just proved that. He stood up, arms out at his side, turning slightly to emphasize the surrounding light show. Well, work for me. Second in charge. Gonna be a lot of logistics behind it. I gave you the brains for it, after all. Thanks to you, this happened way earlier than we thought it would. He proffered his hand. Simple handshake. All I need, 10 seconds. Smart. I am, yes. Brave, however, I am not. I shook his hand without hesitation, wincing at the pain as he pressed his thumb into my hand. I pulled back with his mark firmly burnt. The first of many. A drink was suddenly in my hand, and a cigar. He clinked his glass with mine, finished his with a flourish, then threw it into the wind. As the ground started shaking, the facade of Mr. Right faded slightly, as a crown of horns sprouted from where his hairline would have been, eldritch light splitting upward from the depths. He fixed me in a horrible grin and whooped.
Ooh, welcome to the rapture, baby.
So quoth this raven. Thank you all so for joining me. I know it was a short one, but special thanks to Spirit Voices for helping me with this. Please give her a visit, and if you are not subscribed to her, I don't understand why not. She's amazing. And remember to stop by my friends, the Baron, and Tales from the Hanged Man. Thank you all for coming. You are all so just amazing. Special thanks to my Patreon supporters, Ermin, Darren and Jennifer, Laura, Mutant Artificial Intelligence, Tabby Cat, and of course, Charlotte Emerson. If you like this, please hit the little button to let me know. If you didn't, hit the little button to let me know. Leave a comment. I'm always glad to talk with you, my darlings. I'm open to suggestions and criticisms, critiques. If you have not subscribed, please do so and ring the little bell so you know when to come up and see me. And I will talk to you next time, my darlings. Farewell.